Hi, it's Cara Brown, and this is Watercolor Conversations. It's a place where I share my love of watercolor and my seeking, my teaching, my discoveries, the connections I see, and just in general what it's like to be alive at this time here on planet Earth. I hope that this meets a part of you that's longing to be met. Thanks for being here. Hello, it's Cara. It's the morning, and I'm in the studio with the dog. Hi, Buzz. There is an episode, a recording, a message, something to share that's been burbling in me for a little bit, a little more than a week. Last Tuesday was the 2024 presidential election in the United States. It kind of upended the world for about half the country. And it has brought this idea of how much we are compelled. I even think for me, I'm addicted to wanting to know. We want certainty. And I wrote a post in July of 2016 that I called The Wisdom in Not Knowing. There are some ideas in here I can share, and there's some new things to say too. I first started talking about myself as a teacher, and that I was reluctant at first. I have come to almost every aspect of the life that I feel so blessed to be living very haltingly, without certainty, without intention actually even. But especially as a teacher, because I'm self-taught. I never went to art school. I don't have a formal training. I don't have a body of teaching to fall back on. All I know is what's come through me. And it's really easy to have that not be something that seems worth passing on. In fact, most of what I do is to respond to someone in their painting who is in front of me. That's the bulk of what I call teaching, of what one would call teaching. It's not dogmatic. It's not rule-based. I have a few workshops that I have come up with where I actually stand up and teach, and I say, this is how it works. This is how I know it to work anyway. And yet there's something that's imparted. But I find myself very often saying, I don't know. Not just in my teaching, but in all of my life. And I think of myself as a fairly capable person, but I'm reluctant to claim it. And I am one of those people who really, really wants to know. I send money to Wikipedia every year, a big chunk. A big chunk for what they say, because I love that they exist, even though it has faults, even though there's stuff in it that isn't true. For the most part, it seems to me that it is true, and I love being able to look stuff up. Sorry. I almost tipped over the line there. When I was going to school, probably mostly high school, I loved knowing. I loved being able to raise my hand with confidence. I know the answer to that. There's a certain, self-importance that we feel when we know, right? And it's baked into some people's personalities, whether they actually are factual or not. They know. It's amazing how much we believe them, even if it's not true. So there's a whole entangled thing here about knowing and not knowing. And I believe there's this wisdom in sitting in this place of not knowing. I don't know. I don't know. It feels to me related to the combination of ideas that I've talked about in the past of expectancy versus expectations. The place of, I don't know, feels like expectancy. It feels like not quite anticipation. It feels like openness. It feels like willingness to discover, to have things unfold. Whereas I know gives us that sense of power. There's a TED Talk that I watched at the time that I was doing this writing by Ellen Langer. She talks about how we can get a mindset and then it has us kind of stuck there, fixed. And this fixation has us make assumptions that see things only from one perspective. Sound like this is sort of like our world right now? There's this worldview, and this is how it is. And it lacks the space for curiosity, for openness. And it makes that wide open possibility, that sense of expectancy possible. Whereas an expectation comes from a certain fixed point of view. I also wrote about Ian McGilchrist, who is the author of The Master and His Emissary. And now, since I wrote this post, another book called The Matter with Things. And his work is deeply affected how I see how it is we operate as humans. He talks about the left and the right brain in a really, really different way that's much more powerful. The left brain mode, the left brain way of being, sees things in discrete facts. It is attached to knowing. Whereas in our right brain, we're curious and interested in what is yet to be revealed to us. It's that wisdom of I don't know. I wrote about a talk by Adyashanti that I was listening to while I was painting on vacation in Tahoe, which is where I was when I wrote this post. And the talk was called Healing the Core Wound of Unworthiness. First of all, I believe we all have a core wound like this. We all have a dark belief about ourselves. And mine is absolutely that I am not worthy. Wherever it came from, whatever it is, that is mine. I am just not worthy. That's my shadow. He explained that what heals our unworthiness is redemptive love that the whole universe has for us, regardless of what we've done and what we believe about ourselves. And at the end of the 2-hour program, there it was, this whole thing about knowing. Our worthiness is fed by stories that we believe to be true, stories that seem like our reality. Like there was all these boys running around and they all had agency and I didn't, and I was overwhelmed by them, and so I must not be worthy. There's a little sort of a version of one of my stories. And one antidote to these stories that we seem to have on replay, what is it? You have it on rewind and play again. We have it on repeat. There we go. We have it on repeat. I so wish I could come up with words really fast and easy, but I can't. It's just how I am. One antidote to this is to sit in this place of not knowing, to disconnect from what we believe to be true about our lives, past and present, and be in the wonder of what is it? I don't know. I'm working on a painting right now that has a fuzzy background, and it's a lot of background, and a lot of it is what we call in my world anyway, a fuzzy background. It's out of focus from the photo, and I love to reproduce that. It gives this really interesting kind of sense of depth to the painting, where the subject is in sharp focus and the background is out of focus. And it is absolutely the way of painting that is, I don't know, because watercolor does whatever watercolor does. It's really easy to paint a hard line and have the dry paper keep that line hard. But then to have that line be distinct but soft, it's tricky. It's really tricky. And I know this because I've tried to teach fuzzy backgrounds, and it's really tricky for people to learn it unless they're really willing to charge in, right? So if we take a broader view, painting in focus can trigger this desire to know how, to have the painting be entirely predictable. But this just isn't how painting is for me. And I don't know that it is that way for watercolor. I'm always adrift when I'm actually doing the painting, which makes it uncomfortable. The thing that has developed that I do rely upon is the container that I create for myself in which this painting happens. And this container is all my past experience, all the paintings that I've finished and have turned out just fine. It's the trust that I have based on all the problems that I fixed, problems that at the time were so bad. Some of them I feared that the painting was ruined. And it's the reminder that this is just a piece of paper and not my self-worth. There's that worthiness there again, right? I wrote here that as I was listening to Adyashanti, it occurred to me that the painting, especially in unpredictable watercolor, is a perfect way to practice. I can exercise my right brain mode and sit in the wonder, the expectancy, the possibility, the not knowing of the process of painting. And I'm sure that the I want to know part of me isn't going to go away anytime soon, even so. And nor do I want it to entirely, because it's really useful. It's a very useful tool to call on what we do know. But there's a space that can open for simply observing what we're painting in the process with a sense of appreciation for the act of creation happening before us. I can feel how this way of being is just what can heal our sense that we all have in some form of unworthiness. And as I develop my capacity to observe my paintings unfolding without so much attachment, I become more free and it becomes more fun. And this is just the reminder I needed to give myself as I'm in the middle of painting this fuzzy background. Expanding this to my whole life brings me the freedom and contentment that I seem to always be seeking. What seemed at the beginning of my teaching as simply a lack of confidence now appears to me, and even more so today than when I wrote this 8 years ago, to have really served those who have come to paint with me. I have no idea what the art in you is meant to look like. None whatsoever. Your creations are coming through you. They're coming through your experience and skill and all of that, plus your own desires and inclinations. I am not the authority on anybody's painting except my own. And now, maybe there's even room for me to loosen the authority on my own paintings. They're going to come through as they do. So not knowing opens me to this redemptive love that Adyashanti was talking about, that heals my sense of myself and my life, which allows me to more and more be a source of redemptive love to everyone around me. So I'm taking on a practice by letting go of knowing, at least I'm going to try, and expecting and allowing redemptive love to flow through me into my paintings as I paint them. And it brings a whole new meaning to me of what it means to paint our love. Won't you join me? I send you my redemptive love, and I thank you for listening. Until next time, bye-bye.